In the world of video games, there is a term called a spiritual successor. In 2000, a video game came out for the Nintendo 64 called Perfect Dark. The game was developed by Rare, the same company that developed GoldenEye 007, one of the greatest first-person shooters ever made, also released for the Nintendo 64. In 1997, Perfect Dark is technically meant to be a spiritual successor to GoldenEye 007. It's a game that acts a lot like GoldenEye 007, but it has a different story, different characters, different art design, different everything, but it still feels like the same game in some aspect. And the reason why I'm saying this is because you can apply this terminology to two Martin Scorsese gangster films, Goodfellas in 1990 and its spiritual successor, Casino in 1995. Where do I even begin with Goodfellas? It's one of the greatest gangster films ever made, and might be one of the greatest films ever made as well. The film follows the story of Henry Hill, played by Ray Liotta, as it shows his rise as a prominent gangster in the New York area, and how it ultimately ruins his life. There are many reasons why Goodfellas is an amazing movie. The introduction of this film that immediately puts us into the dangerous world of the mob.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
The fast-paced editing by Thelma Schoonmaker. The use of narration that gives us an inside look to the world of the mob.
They weren't like anybody else. I mean, they did whatever they wanted. They double parked in front of a hydrant and nobody ever gave them a ticket. You know, we always called each other Goodfellas. Like you'd say to somebody, "You're gonna like this guy, he's all right."
The performances in the film, particularly Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci in particular won an Oscar for his performance as a sadistic and megalomaniac gangster named Tommy DeVito.
Well, I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. I make you laugh. I'm here to amuse you.
The way the film is shot with its use of crash zooms, slow motion, long takes, and cinematography by Michael Ballhaus give this film a unique and interesting look. And it also has a killer soundtrack. But I think the main reason why this film is a masterpiece is that it shows exactly what makes the mob life so thrilling to certain people, but also shows exactly how dangerous it is as well. I think this line from the film says it all.
For us, to live any other way was nuts. To us, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and who took the subway to work every day, worried about their bills, were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If we wanted something, we just took it.
But if all of this sounds just a little bit familiar, that's because almost everything I just said can be applied to Casino. Unlike Goodfellas, which mainly follows the story of Henry Hill, Casino mainly follows the mob's control over Las Vegas for several years until the mob eventually loses control and the corporations take everything over. The story mainly follows three characters: Sam Rothstein, a gambling expert and mob official who becomes the overseer of the Tangiers Hotel and Casino; Nicky Santoro, a mob enforcer who goes to Vegas to be Sam's bodyguard, but eventually starts his own gang; and Ginger McKenna, a former prostitute and con artist who becomes Sam's wife. Even though Casino isn't a sequel to Goodfellas, it really does feel like it. It has a similar kind of opening with voiceover narration, and a horrific violent act that sets this film off.
When you love someone, you've got to trust them. There's no other way. Otherwise, what's the point?
Speaking of narration, Casino uses a heavy amount of narration just like Goodfellas, and is used to explain the ins and outs of Las Vegas mob life.
It's all been arranged just for us to get your money. That's the truth about Las Vegas. We're the only winners.
It has the same fast-paced editing style that we've seen from Thelma Schoonmaker. It has a very similar cast, with Joe Pesci essentially playing the same character he played in Goodfellas, a sadistic gangster. And even though it has a different cinematographer in Robert Richardson, the way the film is shot is very similar to Goodfellas, again with long takes, fast dolly zooms, and slow motion and freeze frames. And of course, we can't talk about this film without talking about the amazing soundtrack. I feel like if this movie was made by any other director, people will call it a ripoff of a Scorsese movie. But does the fact that Casino is so similar to Goodfellas hurt the film in any way? No, it doesn't. Both of these films are masterfully done, and both are entertaining watches that successfully puts us in the world of both Henry Hill and Sam Rothstein. Or in another way of putting it, the New York mob life and the Las Vegas mob life. The two films do not just only have the same director, but also have the same writing team of Martin Scorsese and Nicholas Pileggi. In fact, Casino came out after Pileggi expressed interest in wanting to make another film with Scorsese. For the basis of Casino, Pileggi looked to the story of Frank Lefty Rosenthal, who eventually became the inspiration for the character of Sam Rothstein. The book Casino, Love and Honor in Las Vegas came out only 1 month before the film came out, and was kind of like a 2001 A Space Odyssey situation where the book was written with the screenplay. That doesn't mean that everything in both of these films are similar. And it's not just the different mob lifestyles. I think the biggest difference in both of these films are how the characters are written. While Henry Hill is a full-on gangster who robs and hurts people, Sam Rothstein is just a guy who just wants to run his casino, who happens to be mob affiliated. In Goodfellas, Henry Hill's wife is more of like a loyal follower and supporter who's sucked into that lifestyle that Henry Hill loves so much. However, in Casino, Sharon Stone's character of Ginger is far more fleshed out and actually is a little more interesting than Sam. She's someone who doesn't want to marry him, but decides to marry him anyway due to the status and success that he has. And one thing I love about Casino so much is that it really captures the downfall of the relationship between Sam and Nikki. Seeing these guys go from friends to enemies, to me makes the film more intriguing to watch. I mean, the relationship between the characters in Goodfellas are really masterfully done, showing the friendship and the gangster lifestyle between Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, and Joe Pesci's characters. I think Casino does a really good job at showing the downfall of the relationships, whether it is between Sam and Nikki or between Sam and Ginger. Despite those differences, by the end of the films, they both have the same message. To reiterate my point about Goodfellas, and why the movies are so good, and to some lines, why Martin Scorsese is so good at doing gangster films and films like this in general, is that he shows what makes that life so enticing, but also just how dangerous and horrible it can be. He doesn't aim to glorify the gangster lifestyle, he aims to show just how cruel and violent it can be. By the end of Goodfellas, Henry is forced to join the witness protection program, and has to leave all the gangster life behind that he loves so much. No more excitement, no more thrill, just an average nobody who lives the rest of his life
Like a schnook.
And in Casino, Sam Rothstein ends up right back where he started as a sports handicapper, after being unable to get his gaming license due to his mob history. They might be in two different scenarios at the end, but the point is clear: the mob ruined their lives. Even though these films are not sequels, they both are incredibly similar in story, production, and themes, and the message is clear with both of these films: don't join the mob. Thank you all for watching this video, hope you enjoyed it, and like and subscribe to ETS if you found some good use out of this video. See y'all soon.